What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Guys, just wanted to make a quick video here for you that basically talks about how the Indianapolis Colts went ahead and got some great weapons and got some protection for Anthony Richardson, knowing that was on their mind in this draft. But before we get into that, just want to say this episode is presented by PrizePicks. Be sure to visit prizepicks.com or use the app today and use code BTJ for a $100 deposit match when you sign up. But guys, the Indianapolis Colts, they went out in this draft, and outside of the first, they definitely went with some defense in this draft. Not going to disassociate that, but the Indianapolis Colts really did a good job in this draft of being able to acquire both weapons and protection here for Anthony Richardson that was very much needed, right? So, of course, with that first offensive pick being A.D. Mitchell, no problem there. And, of course, I'm sure Anthony Richardson is probably loving that pick because Adonai Mitchell allows you to open up the playbook in so many different ways. If this guy becomes anything what you expect him to be, right? He has that great skill set of just about everyone what Indy has right now. Mitchell has good hands. That's like a Michael Pittman. Josh Downs, who's a great route runner, a great separator. Adonai Mitchell has that exact type of thing that he can get open when he has great feet. And of course, with Alec Pierce, who is a vertical threat, Adonai Mitchell has that same thing. He ran a 4.34, right? So you look at this, he's a little bit faster than Alec Pierce, which is crazy to think about. And he has the size to be able to compete with anyone. He is that 6'2.5", 205 pounds. So this guy, while albeit is not the 6'3", 215 pounds, or the 6'4", 215 pounds like Michael Pittman is, or Alec Pierce are, this guy definitely still has size. He's up there with any of the rest of them when it comes to the overall size of it. And Adonai Mitchell being in that spot in which they got him really is just such a fantastic pick at that spot. We knew the Indianapolis Colts were going to have to get a weapon for Anthony Richardson in this draft. Where that was and who that was left to be determined, but the Indianapolis Colts were able to get one of the best ones of the draft and even still trade back and still get one of the best premier wide receivers in the NFL draft. I mean, again, this was a Colts offense that was the 11th best offense in the NFL last year. That was without Anthony Richardson. And you had Gardner Minshew running it. Jonathan Taylor wasn't 100% the whole season. And you didn't have some of the weapons you have. But now you look at it and you say, with this unit and Jelani Woods coming back, Adonai Mitchell being added to the group, if this offense can stay healthy, this is an easy top 10 offense. I mean, legitimately is an easy top 10 offense. So be prepared, NFL, for what you're about to witness here in 2024. Now, of course, with the remainder of the offensive picks, you also added Anthony Gould to the mix at wide receiver. Now, this is more of a return guy, no question about that. But if you have a guy that can get those returns and can specialize in those and every now and again be able to have a really good return against teams in the NFL, and instead of you getting an average of 6 or 7 yards, you get an average of like 8, 9, 10 yards, you know, that those extra few yards per return really does open up a lot of things for an offense. I mean, if that's 5 or 10 less yards that the Indianapolis Colts have to drive down the field, that can make all the difference. So it helps in such a big way for the offense. And of course, Gould and his unique skill set and how he has that burner speed, that same 40 time that Alec Pierce ran. And being such a small body, and it's hard for some of these guys to be able to grab onto somebody like this, to be able to have somebody in there like a Gold who can run jet sweeps, can run motions, can run a lot of these things to just open up the playbook, 100% means a lot for the Indianapolis Colts. Now, as we said, guys, today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Now, what is Prize Picks? Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Instead of battling against thousands of other players across platforms, you're basically picking 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're choosing more or less on those stat projections to be able to watch those winnings roll in. It's very easy. Do you guys want to play along at some of Prize Picks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and UFC fighter Sugar Sean O'Malley? Well, if you guys sign up today, you can find the community plays under the promos tab of the app to view the entries of some of the biggest names on the platform and be a part of that as well. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 just like that with NBA, NHL, and college basketball entries today on Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Like a lot of other things, guys, they also offer injury insurance, so your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. So if someone exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player projection won't count against you, and the rest of your entry stays live. So it's great bounce back for that one. What I love about the app as well, guys, is it's not just sports like NBA, NHL, football, and tennis, and baseball, and all these other things, but there's also a lot of others that go into it as well. If you like to place entries on video game situations like Call of Duty, CS2, Apex, if that's something that appeals to you, there's a wide variety of sports and video games and everything else that you can place entries on. And I love how expansive it is. Even just looking at the NBA, there's entries you can make with turnovers, with points. You can do combo deals, dunks, field goals attempted, all of these different things. So there's just so many different ways to make money off of these entries. Be sure to download the app today and use code BTJ for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use code BTJ for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, it's sponsored by Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Going to the last couple guys here, the Indianapolis Colts also selecting Matt Goncalves and, of course, Tanner Bartolone, the offensive lineman of this group. Mainly guys that are most likely going to be on the interior of the offensive line. These are great picks for both the short term and the long term for Indianapolis, because Goncalves is a guy that the Indianapolis Colts have already confirmed this. He's like the blueprint of what they wanted out of an offensive lineman. Big bodied, can play that spot in the middle, can play anywhere on the offensive line that they need him, and a great pass protector. So that's a great thing to have if you're Indy. And he was so excited to be in Indy. And, having that depth behind the guys that you have in there currently. We saw last year, guys, tackles went out. Ryan Kelly went out. There's a lot of different times when you needed offensive line depth this last year, and sometimes you just didn't have it. So for the Indianapolis Colts to go out and get this offensive line depth that they needed, not just with Goncalves, but also with Bortolini, who can play that center position if indeed something happens where Ryan Kelly gets injured again. If you wanted to move him to guard and you already have Goncalves working that backup spot at the tackle position, then you can have Bortolini go in there and do all of those things. So, it is truly a fantastic group of offensive linemen that you took back to back. in the third and fourth round to go out and be just basically that depth that Indianapolis truly needs on their interior and even their exterior of the offensive line. You know, you have Blake Freeling, you know, you have Jake Witt coming back. So you have that offensive line depth now that you didn't have the last couple years that you really needed. Now you have that. And the great part is, too, is we've already heard about this where the Colts really like these guys. And I think it's for more than just depth. I think that they truly think that these two guys can be the guys of the future for the Indianapolis Colts. Because remember, Ryan Kelly's not going to be here for very, very long, guys. I mean, he said he wants to still play football right now. No question about it. But he's had a lot of injuries. And even if he still wants to play football right now, that could change at any time. Even if he gets another contract extension and we get him for another couple years, you know, in a few years, Ryan Kelly may not be this team's center anymore. He may not be the anchor of this team much longer. And, of course, Braden Smith, he's had numerous injuries. And who knows if we're going to re-extend him, because he's going to be worth a good chunk of penny there. And Will Fries even. Will Fries is going to be a guy that you're going to get that has to be, you know, taken off of the board at some point, because he's going to be, I believe he's a free agent after this year. So, you know, you're just looking at all of these scenarios where these offensive linemen, you know, you got guys that are going to be becoming free agents. You got guys that might potentially be retiring. These guys can be your long-term solutions potentially if you're the Indianapolis Colts. And that's a great thing if you're Anthony Richardson, to know that there's a backup plan in the works and that one of these guys is not just going to just be in there just trying to not have your head taken off, right? So the Indianapolis Colts really did a great job getting a couple wide receivers in this draft that really can help with Anthony Richardson, and offensive linemen that are great depth pieces. So now if somebody does go down, you have a serviceable young guy that knows what they're doing. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, guys, go Colts.